Hello friends, welcome back. Today I'm doing another coloring book page, but instead of using the Copic markers that I used last time, this time I'm going to be attempting to use my lovely little Sharpie collection here. So I actually bought these Sharpies specifically to color in this coloring book because of two reasons. One, alcohol markers really intimidated me, so I figured I would go with a brand that I recognized, which I know doesn't make much sense because Sharpies are notoriously a little difficult to use. And the second reason was they were cheaper than Copics. This was before I discovered I had a little mini collection there. But I bought them specifically to draw in the coloring book with because, believe it or not, Sharpies are alcohol-based markers, so they do work really well in this coloring book. However, I definitely learned my lesson from last time, and Sharpies are a lot more intense than Copics, so I am going to be putting a sheet of paper in between my pages. The paper in this coloring book is really, really good. This is, once again, Galaxy Gals by Kara Aldridge. Buy it on Amazon. And I have actually tested out the Sharpies before. On this page, as you can see, I got super, super vibrant color with the Sharpies, and there was actually no bleed through on the next page. Actually, the back of this page has pretty much the same amount of bleed through that the Copic markers did, and I think that's because the Sharpies are so intense on their own that I didn't have to go over it as many times, so there was less ink to bleed through. Regardless though, I am going to be putting a piece of paper behind this page so that I don't ruin the beautiful picture on the next page. And this is the piece that we're gonna be doing today. I really wanted to see if I could get some cool, like blended purples and reds and blues in the hair to make sort of a galaxy effect. I'm not entirely sure how the Sharpies are going to respond to that, but I think it would be a fun experiment. So I have a few different sets here. There's a pastel set in the middle, a regular rainbow set, and then a skin tone set. So thankfully, I have a lot of ranges of skin tones to choose from. I definitely want her to have a darker skin tone because she does have sort of an afro. I'm drawn to this one because it almost looks gray, and I am less afraid of this one than I am something as vibrant as this because I generally work in really desaturated colors, so this one's almost comforting to me. At the same time though, I kind of want to start with something a little bit lighter just in case I have to go over it multiple times. So I think I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to start with this lighter color, and then if I need to go over it again, I have a few more options. And then I also have some less intensely vibrant blush tones. I've got like some nice soft pinks, but I'm not entirely sure if that's gonna show up. Well, we'll see. But these are gonna be a lot less intimidating for me personally than the bright orange red that I had to deal with previously. So I think with that, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into it. I'm definitely scared, definitely still don't know exactly what I'm doing, but hopefully these are going to be just as easy to control as the Copic markers. We'll see. So I'm gonna start with the skin tone as always, and I am really gonna try hard to remember to leave that highlight line because I kept forgetting to do that on the last piece. That is a lot darker than I thought it would be. Ooh, wow, 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 wow. I might, okay. Like, I guess that's the same color. It's just, it's so scary. I'm gonna go lighter because I can always go darker, but I don't think there's any way that I can lighten a Sharpie. I should do swatches on these actually. Okay, okay, I like this one. Let's start with this one. Just kind of fill in here as we can. I've noticed with the alcohol markers, they definitely blend a lot easier than the microns did that I was using for my Inktober series. The microns were definitely very streaky, so I'm not feeling as pressured to go very fast. Yeah, okay. Okay, actually this is quite easy. I was not expecting Sharpies to be this easy to use. That's actually really surprising. The only thing that I'm thinking is going to be difficult with these Sharpies right now is that they are a much smaller tip than the micron markers. So it's going to be harder to cover a larger area, but also because the tip is a lot smaller and a lot denser, the microns were definitely a lot softer than this tip. It actually feels a lot easier to control. So far I'm a fan. I have no idea how the blush situation is going to go. Because usually I do the skin first and then I do blush over the top of the skin and kind of blend it in. But I'm not entirely sure how these markers are going to like pick up the colors. I like this tone though. I'm glad we went with a slightly lighter skin tone so that I can shade it later. Wow, okay. Huge fan so far. Really, really liking these. I kind of really want to peek at the backside of this page because I'm very, very curious how much this is bleeding. All right. You can see on the backside of the actual page there, it's definitely coming through, but nothing on this paper so far. So again, this paper quality is really, really good for a coloring book. And I'm so impressed with the Sharpies. I did not expect this to go so smoothly. I was certain they were going to be bleeding all over the place, but I'm actually having an easier time staying inside the lines with the Sharpies than I was with the Copic markers. They definitely do bleed a little bit, so I'm finding that wherever I want a highlight line, I need to make the gap like larger than I want it to be because the Sharpie is going to bleed into that space a little, but they're actually a lot easier to use than I think the Copics were. Here you go, see, I left a couple little like highlights on the nose there. And like I was saying, it's really, really difficult to kind of judge where this Sharpie is going to spread to. So I left like really, really big gaps for those highlights, and they kind of still seem like they're closing up. So I'm not entirely sure if those are gonna stay. That's the whole point of this though, is to just kind of experiment. Okay, I'm really, again, very, very impressed with how smooth this is. I'm gonna see if I can include the footage in there of me actually drawing those highlights, but I drew like big circles and they have definitely closed off a lot. So that's definitely something to keep in mind when working with Sharpies, is they do spread quite profusely. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and let that dry. I'm not done with the skin yet. Oh, actually, she's got a midriff. Let me color that in. I am gonna come back to the skin and do the shading and the blush. I kind of just want to slap some other colors on here to see how things are looking. Should I do the blush next? I kind of want to let everything dry down first because obviously this part that I started on at the very beginning is going to be a lot drier than the side here, which I just colored in. So I think I want to let everything sort of dry down to the same dryness before I go in with the blush, just so that we get like a really even coating. And that highlight line that I did on the nose is gone. So that's another reason I wanna let everything settle and kind of come back to it later. In the meantime, I think I'm gonna color in the clothes really quick. I don't have anything special planned for those, and then we will start in on the hair. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay, so I was planning to do this off camera, but this is a really interesting reaction. On the pants here, I used this gray marker mostly to color in the pants, and then on the fringes here, I did the light blue marker and then like colored over it with the gray to kind of make the pants look a little bit like a bluish gray. And then I figured I would use the light blue to just go over it again and shade the pants, but it actually like took up the ink. The shading here looks a little lighter than the actual gray. So I'm gonna need to go back in, I think with the gray, and hopefully fix that. Here we go. Okay, yeah, it's looking a little darker. That's just a really interesting reaction. I was not expecting for the lighter color to actually lighten the ink underneath it. Was that supposed to happen? Is that just a thing that Sharpies can do? I'm gonna try it again. That's so cool. It's definitely like it doesn't look like I put blue ink over gray ink. It looks like it just changed the ink from gray to blue. That's really cool and definitely something to keep in mind. All right, I had to take a little break, so everything is definitely all dried down now. We can see the highlight on the nose definitely left us. We still have like a little tiny highlight on the very tip, but I have a feeling that's gonna go away pretty soon too. But like I was saying earlier, I did a little bit of shading in the pants here, and now I kind of want to go back in and do some shading in the skin. But first I want to try some of these blush colors. I want to see what they do. I've got my swatch pad from when I did the Copic markers up here, and I'm just kind of swatching stuff off camera to get a good idea of what the colors look like on paper, because honestly the caps don't feel like a great indication. I mean, It's pretty close. I think it just feels darker because when it first goes down, it is really, really saturated, very wet. But I think this red is actually going to be a pretty decent blush. It's relatively dark, so I think it'll actually be fine. I'm gonna start here with the lips again. Same thing as I did last time, just in case I screw up. It'll look like lipstick, hopefully. And just carefully color those in. I am going to try and take the skin tone again and try and blend that out a little, see how that looks. Okay, kind of hard to see the pink. All right, I kind of like it. I don't think it's blending as smoothly as the Copics did, but let's go ahead and give it a few more tries and see how it looks. This is the point where I think that highlight's going to leave us. Oh, you know what? Oh, it's doing the thing again where it's picking up the pigment underneath it. Okay. Yeah, look at that. Okay, so I do actually need a darker pink. I feel like those are the same color. Should I go with the more vibrant Sharpie, like a true red, or is that gonna be way too much? Because I kind of feel like in order to blend these, you kind of need something that's kind of the same shade as what you were using previously, so that it doesn't pick up too much of the pigment underneath it. Oh, it's really hard to decide, because that honestly does not look. You know what? Maybe we'll just forego blush for now. And I'm gonna go ahead and continue shading with this marker, and then we'll come back to it and see what we wanna do. Because now that the ink's all dry, I can go over again with the same marker and hopefully get a little bit of shading in here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you know, the Sharpies, I think, are no harder to work with than the Copics. Aside from that weird lifting thing that it does. Not entirely sure how to manage that right now. Still not doing a super great job of staying within inside the lines, by the way. I think I'm doing only slightly better than when I was working with the Copics. It's just difficult. I think it's a learned skill to kind of predict where the ink is gonna kind of bleed out to, and I just don't have that perception yet. Kind of testing different things on my swatch paper right now, seeing what works. Although I gotta keep in mind that my swatch paper is gonna react differently than this paper because I think it's just a sketch paper, so it's really, really thin. Okay, I think I'm just gonna try going back over it with the pink pen. We'll see what happens. Starting with the lips again. Let that dry before doing anything else. And it does still seem like it's just kind of pulling up the color. This is so weird. Her lips look the same tone, if not a lot lighter than her skin. I don't really know what I'm gonna do about that. Should I just not have blush on this piece? Should I move on? Let's go ahead and move on. If I find a technique for blending later on, maybe I can go back to the blush, but I think for right now, we just need to move forward with this piece. Forgot there was a shoe down here, so I'm just gonna color that in real quick. Kinda want the shoe to be yellow and white to reflect the shirt, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. Looks a little weird though. Oh, everything's going wrong. It's fine, it's fine. I think it's time to do the hair, which is the part that I was really excited about. I really wanted to get some galaxy colors going in there. So I've got a whole range of purples this time around. Last time I didn't have any, and now I've got like 4 like really good lilac tones. I've got some pinky, I've got some more magenta tones, lots of blues, a really, really dark blue, which I think we can kind of substitute the black for, because I don't want to use pure black Sharpie on this. And I'm thinking, you know what? Should we do something really risky? Should we start with the darkest color and then try and use the like lifting that we've discovered to lighten it in places? What do we think of that? I think personally that would be interesting. I'm gonna do it. And instead of coloring the stars on this piece, I colored the stars on the last one because I wanted a little bit more color in the piece, but I think on this one I'm gonna leave the stars white. But what I know I wanna do, first of all, I wanna color her hair this blue color, like the hair that's kind of coming in under the headband there. And then because her hair is gonna be the dark blue color, I want all the like space afro around her to be the same color, and then we can sort of blend it out into a galaxy. So let's start with the hair. I was thinking about leaving like a shine line, but with Sharpies, they're just not, there's no way that I'm gonna be able to like blend them out into white, especially brand new Sharpies. They're just too pigmented. So I'm just gonna color that in one solid color. Okay, and then we can just start going around the figure and start coloring in that space afro. I'm trying to be so careful around the skin skin because I know this ink kind of spreads out. So I don't want to risk getting too close to the skin and then having it bleed onto it. I mean, I don't think this is too risky because I think this dark blue color looks good regardless. Like I could color the whole afro in with this dark blue and it would look fine. It just wouldn't be that interesting. So I'm just gonna try and spread this out a little bit and then we're gonna add the kind of pinks and purples in there to hopefully make a little bit of a galaxy. We'll see, I'm not entirely sure how this is gonna turn out. Actually, I'm not sure at all how this is gonna turn out. Hoping for the best here. All right, so I've kind of spread the dark blue out enough, I think. And what I'm gonna try and do, oh, I got a lot of Sharpies here. I'm actually gonna take another blue and try and lift the dark blue. I wanna see what happens. This spot should be the driest. Let's see what happens when I just wanna put it right in this section. Wait, I don't know if you can see that, but it is lifting. It's lifting very, very slightly. I'm gonna take this one outside the lines a little bit, outside the boundaries. That is so cool. Is this like an alcohol marker feature or is this just Sharpies? Because I was not able to achieve this with the Copics, but I'm really, really impressed with the ability of these markers to just like lift what's underneath them. It's really frustrating in some parts when I want to put a color down over top of another one, but for a situation like this, I think it's really, really useful. Oops, going outside the lines again. When will I learn? Like the ability to blur that hard line, it kind of makes it look like watercolor, which is so cool because if there was one medium that's scarier to me than alcohol markers, it is watercolor. So it's really cool that I'm able to create this same effect. I'm gonna do a little bit more over here and then I'm gonna switch colors. Oh man, how exciting. I'm really, really excited about this piece now. I still need to figure out what to do with the blush, but the hair, I'm so excited for that. All right, I've actually got a half an hour before I've got to go stream on Twitch. So I'm just gonna let this dry for a little bit, charge my cameras, and I'll be back later tonight to finish this off. All right. See you later. Hi guys, how's it going? So full disclosure, it's actually been a few days since I last worked on this and I don't quite remember where I left off, but I know I was obviously working on the hair. There was also the issue of blush, I remember. Blush was not working too well. And I kind of want to see, now that the markers have had a really long time to dry, I kind of want to see what happens when I do go back over it with the blush, whether or not it's going to keep picking it up. There's no way these aren't the same color, right? Well, they kind of look different on camera, but in real life, they look almost exactly the same. But I want to see if I put blush down now, if it's still gonna give me the same effect. And I'm gonna start with the lips again, because I feel like that's the safest area to kind of mess around with, because if it doesn't work out, we can just pretend she's wearing lipstick. So just gonna go in, and in fact, I'm just gonna add to the top lip here. And this time I'm dabbing it on instead of actually like drawing it in, because I talked to my friend Kara, whose coloring book this actually is, and she suggested that it might actually be the tips of the Sharpies themselves, because Copic markers have really, really soft tips and Sharpies have really firm tips. It could actually be the tip itself that's kind of scraping up the color. So I'm gonna try like dabbing it on and see if that helps. I'm gonna go ahead and go over that again. I'm doing just the top lip because sometimes the top lip has a tendency to be darker than the bottom lip. So I'm hoping I can sort of add the ink on top of itself and it'll get darker and darker. Kind of seems like it's doing that right now, but we're gonna go ahead and put the blush away and I'm gonna let that dry, and I'm actually gonna continue working on the hair. So first thing I want to do is I want to take this dark blue and I want to bring it more towards the edges. So I'm just gonna hop right back into it. I don't really know if I want to leave a little bit of a highlight or not on the hair, because it's definitely supposed to be like a giant galaxy cloud. And I think leaving the highlight might make it look a little unfinished. So I am just gonna go right to the edge. I don't really have a rhyme or reason to this. I'm just kind of taking the blue wherever I feel it needs it. I'm trying to leave a little bit of a glow around the planets because I have an idea of just kind of outlining them in a yellow to give them a bit of an ethereal appearance, hopefully. I don't know if that's going to necessarily work, but that's kind of what I want to try with them. I kind of got some good coverage on this dark blue here. I think we'll stop there. I am nervous that because the ink has had so long to dry, it's not going to blend as well as the fresh ink. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go back in with the same blue and start blending things out again. That's not the same blue. Is it this one? It was this one. And I'm gonna try and blend things a little bit around the old ink as well and see if we can kind of get things moving. All right, it's subtle, but it is bleeding a little bit, which is definitely what I want, so that's good. Something that's just so cool about this book is Sharpies are really intense, right? Like if you go over and over and over on a piece of paper in the same spot with a Sharpie, it's definitely gonna start tearing through the paper. This book, we can actually start to see it starting to bleed here, but I have gone heavy with this Sharpie. I have not been light with it at all. And the paper is one solid piece. It's not tearing up whatsoever. And I knew it did that because I've actually seen Kara work with Sharpies in this book, but to see it in action is a whole different thing. It's so cool. I think I'm gonna switch from blue and I'm gonna go over to maybe like a pink color now, because I want to start getting different colors in here. Oh, you know what? Let's go from blue to purple. Kind of keep it within the same color spectrum. And hopefully we get a little bit more of a gradient. And I think I'm just gonna like vibe things out for a little while. I'll speed through the footage so you guys can watch the nice, pretty sped up version, but I'm just gonna start coloring in the galaxy kind of wherever I feel like it. I think that's really the fun thing about galaxies is as long as you have the right colors, you can kind of just do whatever you want, make whatever shapes you want, and it'll still end up looking like a galaxy because they're so amorphous, shapeless, cloud-like. I am finding it's easier to start with a dark color and then blend it out with a lighter color. So for example, this dark blue is definitely the darkest that we have, so I can blend it out with the purple. But because the purple is darker than the light blue, I'm having a little bit of trouble getting it to blend. So I just have to go in with my light blue again and kind of go over that to help it blend in a little. Good to know. May have gone a little overboard. Look, I think we've already established that I am a toddler and I have trouble staying inside the lines, so there's no need to bully me for that, but might have gone a little overboard with the color. It doesn't quite look like a galaxy, it kind of just looks like a big splotch, but I like it. I'm gonna be honest. It was really fun to do. I think I just kind of need to blend things out a bit more and it will be a little bit more palatable. But yeah, I think I went overboard with the colors. I think I did too many like sections where colors were different. Probably should have been a little bit more like conservative with where the colors were going, but I don't think it's too bad overall. Just a little funky. This blue, by the way, this is what I've been using to kind of just blend all the colors together. And it's been working really well to just give things a little bit of cohesion. That is my tie-dye galaxy, we'll call it. So I think I'm gonna give up on the blush because the lips have completely dried now and they don't look any different than they did before, so I'm giving up. I do still need to color her eyes though. All right, I give up on the hair too. It's a tie-dye galaxy and I've decided I like it that way. I'm just gonna do a little light purple for her eyes. I'm not gonna do anything too extreme, just like that. And then I don't really know anything about planets, but we do have all these planets we have to contend with. I think I am going to do like the little yellow glow around them, hopefully. Although I have just said I've put too many colors into this galaxy and this is gonna be adding another color, but you know what, it'll be fine. It'll tie in with the yellow in her outfit, I think. So all these planets just get a little yellow outline where they're kind of encompassed in her hair. How's that look? You know, I don't hate it. There's kind of a lot going on in the hair anyway, and it doesn't really add or detract from that, so I'm happy. I did lose a couple stars over here. God, it's hard. Coloring inside the lines with alcohol markers and Sharpies specifically is really difficult because they do just sort of bleed all over the place. All right, I gotta start putting stuff away. All right, and then I think for the planets, I'm gonna try to stick to mostly warm tones. So a lot of yellows and oranges and a bit of a vibrant red because I don't want them to get lost in the cool tones of the galaxy hair. I think that's good. So I think, first of all, there's only 8 planets here. So I know this is not our solar system, so we can get a little bit funky with it. So I think I'm just gonna start kind of with some gradiating patterns. So like yellow in this sort of center spot here, and then I'll blend that out with a little bit of light orange. Throw that light orange around a bit more. And my plan here is to kind of like gradiate it from this light orange color into a darker red color. And this will just be for this planet. I'll try different things on different planets, but that's real dark. Just also make sure everything's kind of blended out. And then finally use some red in there. Yeah, and we have a nice deserty looking planet. I just want to make sure everything's good and blended so it doesn't look too stark. I don't think that looks half bad. I think that looks pretty cool. So the planet's the last thing we have to do. Am I just gonna leave the stars white, or should I do maybe yellow stars? I think I should do yellow stars. I'm gonna fill those in real quick. Yeah, I was actually thinking halfway through drawing all those in that it would be really cool to do light blue stars to have them contrast the planets, but I like the yellow too. I think it ties it into her outfit really well. I think I'm just gonna speed through doing the rest of these planets and then maybe do a few more touch-ups on the galaxy, and I'll just meet you guys back here for the final product. All right? Yeah, I'll see you guys soon. All right, final thoughts. I love Sharpies. Actually, I had a lot of fun with this one. They do a lot of really cool things. Obviously, I still have a lot to learn about like how to manipulate the bleed and how certain Sharpies blend better than other Sharpies, what kinds of colors those are. I wish Sharpie would put some kind of identification number on the markers themselves so that I didn't have to guess which color is which, because sometimes the caps do not really indicate what the ink looks like. But overall, love Sharpies. I actually had a blast with this. It looks so cool. I added some freckles to the character to kind of like mimic the stars a little bit. I need to work on staying inside the lines and not going overboard for sure. Because I think the hair started out really nice, and then I just added way too much texture, color, combinations. It's just too much. And then of course I've lost all these stars over here. Anyway, let's go ahead and check our scrap paper. That's actually unbelievable that is all we got on our scrap paper. And of course, absolutely nothing on the back side. This is the back side of the page. You can see, obviously, it bled all the way through, but this scrap paper was sitting here. I did not move it at all. That is all that got on it. It's mostly, it looks like the dark blue that I used for the afro, and then a couple little bits of purple. I think that was this dark purple, like the really vibrant one. Yeah, overall, actually really enjoyed working with the Sharpies. Again, super impressed with the paper quality in this book. I would have thought for sure Sharpies were gonna be more intense than Copics, but this one definitely bled through a lot more than the Sharpies did. Well, actually, you know what? I think it bled about the same amount, and that is very minimal. So as long as you have like just a small protective sheet between your working page and the page after it, you have virtually nothing to worry about. I'm blown away by that. Anyway, oh, I missed a couple stars. Where'd my yellow go? Did I drop it? I do need a better workspace if I'm gonna continue with traditional art, because organizing my markers on my angled drawing table is not going to cut it. Anyway, I'm gonna be posting this page on my Instagram the same time that this video goes up, so you can check it out over there if you would like. Also gonna try and make a little TikTok out of this video. I haven't actually edited the TikTok from the first one yet, so hopefully I can do both of those, but I am going on vacation tomorrow, so those probably won't be done for a while. If you wanna see more of me, you can find me over on Twitch. I live stream over there every Tuesday and Friday. We do art and games on my Twitch channel. And if you want to support me and my content in the absolute best way possible, you can head on over to my Patreon and sign up under one of the 5 different tier levels. You can support me there for as little as $1 a month and get exclusive content for as little as $3 a month. And lastly, of course, make sure you subscribe to this channel so you can find your way back here for next week's video. I think I'm gonna be taking a little bit of a break from traditional art and going back to my digital content, but I will hopefully see you all then, all right? I love you all. Bye!